Good night, everyone, and welcome to Animal Talk. I want to apologize for the absence we've had over the last 2-3 weeks, and they were also the result of circumstances beyond our control. Tonight we're going to be addressing an issue that is becoming more and more prevalent, and there are a number of factors that would assist or contribute in the manifestation of this issue. And we're addressing it tonight because it's of tremendous importance to us. And the thing is, the level of importance that we give to it, that the owners, who sometimes their furry friends are subject to the issue, very, very often they underpin, they undermine the situation and don't address it with any level of urgency, because they think it may just be a minor issue. And in their belief of it being a minor issue, they don't give the due care and attention that they should, and many a times those situations can end up being very serious issues. It can end up being very fatal as well. Tonight we will be dealing with the issue of dog aggression, and that aggression we're going to relate it to in-house aggression, where a dog may attack another, but the other aspect of it is when a dog, part of a family bundle, react in a very aggressive manner towards another. And many a times the animals are blamed for the attack, and they may be right, but 80% or more is the reason for the attack. The owner or owners or members of the household are responsible for the reason why the aggression takes place in the first place. I'm sure some of you, your furry friends, may be a victim of that in-house aggression, or aggression to a neighboring dog, or aggression towards a dog that is not within the household or within the neighborhood. The point that I'm going to raise here is the aggression is one aspect of it, but the other aspect of it is how does the owner respond to that aggression. Many times persons just turn a blind eye. They may figure, oh, it's nothing much, it's just a puncture, or they may not even observe the injury to the skin. The animal may be very furry, so they don't examine properly, so they maybe don't even realize that there is a puncture. And this is the crux of the matter, where persons take it on their own and make their own assessment and judgment as to how they should deal with the situation, and in not responding to the situation in an adequate manner, like I said, could lead to very daring circumstances, even resulting into the death of the animal. And let me explain this. Many times when there is a dog attack, or the aggression of one dog towards another, or an aggression of more than one dog towards another, what you may see is probably just some blood on the animal fur that you may not consider to be of anything significant, or you may not even see any penetration through the skin and consider that to be fine. But one, when the animals bite, you may or may not see the puncture, and if you see, all you may see is just the entry point of the teeth, and we consider that to be fine. But what you don't see is what we may refer to as the tip, or what you see maybe the tip of the iceberg, and what you don't see is the iceberg below the tip, where when the animals bite, they bite and they shake and they pull. The force that a dog would exert on another at that point of attack on a dog bite ranges between 220, 340 pounds per square inch, and that is the pressure, the measure to the pressure applied on that bite. The average pressure that we as human can exert on a bite ranges between 120, 180 pounds, not much compared to that of a dog bite. And this is where the crux of the matter, this is where all the damage can happen, because we underestimate the extent to which just a dog bite and a shake, the amount of damage that that animal can inflict on his victim, so to speak. And again too, you may just look, you did not see the bite, you see the entry point, or you may just see two entry points and feel, no, it's just a minor bite, but not realizing that whatever you saw is just the tip of the iceberg and the damage is on the inside. You may not have seen any entry point either and think that it's all fine, it's all well. But again too, the damages could be on the inside. Other than this, when the animal who is the victim of that attack is can get into a state of shock, because the animal gets very nervous, very unstable, and you may not realize how this attack is impacting on the animal, and you may consider everything to be fine, just leave alone, and next thing you realize, that animal gets into a state of shock, and that's it. Can be fatal. You can lose him or her. So the point I want to drive home there is that you as the animal owner should give very, very serious attention and response, an immediate response when you have a dog attack. The sooner, the quicker you can get that animal to your vet, the better the chances of that animal surviving or allowing a very adequate and speedy response to the injury. We've been having too many of those cases where the animal is attacked and the owners feel that no, he or she is fine, it's just a dog bite and nothing serious, and they just brush it aside. And lo and behold, as time progresses, 2, 3, 4 days, and they realize, oh, what they thought was there was no entry point, now they probably starting to take a stench, and when they look, they start seeing areas starting to become necrotic. Necrotic meaning that areas of decay as to the point of entry, redness into the area. So at that point now, they would want to react. And reacting, giving a response to the situation 3-4 days after, it's not the same as giving a response almost immediately after the injury has occurred, or at the soonest time of you realizing there may have been an attack. Make a response almost immediately. That could make a total difference as to how and if that animal survives, and to minimize the damage as a result of the dog attack. You'd have a lot of trauma in there. And again, remember I said when the dogs bite, those of you who may have witnessed it, when they bite, they shake, and in the shaking is where all the cutting and the rupturing is done to the soft tissue, which you may not realize has happened from the outside. And I want to reiterate this again, is the tip of the iceberg effect. And again, all you're going to see, if you see anything at all, maybe a puncture wound, some bleeding that may stop. The majority of the bleeding may be occurring internally and not manifesting outwardly, and you may take comfort in that. It's just a bite. People, please pay attention to this. And I'm going to delve into some of the reasons that give rise to some of these attacks, especially the attacks that takes place within the household, where you may not expect. The animals live together a few years, been together, and couldn't understand why one may turn on the other and attack. Many a times, what gave rise to that attack is as a result of the owner or owners, the action or lack of, the way they behave around the animals, and signs that may be manifesting and not noticing it, not paying attention to it. And this would be the end point, which is a vicious attack. Some of them, the attack could be so severe, could result in death to the attacked animal. And when this happens now, everybody is in a tailspin, not knowing what to do, how to respond, couldn't understand how animals live together, could just suddenly turn against another, and the result could be so fatal. Many times the signs are there and we don't pay attention to it, or we don't notice it. And we are the reason, the culprits for this, the endpoint of which is going to be the aggression towards the other, and not realizing that we are the one contributing to the conditions that give rise to that attack. One, the manner in which that puppy, if it was a puppy, from the time that that animal became part of the family, it may probably come in as an adult, or a mature, not fully developed into an adult, but mature enough dog, and not understanding that animal may have been exposed to certain conditions that would have affected its behavior. And that's why I may have said so on a number of programs, where the socialization of your puppy is so important, and many times we don't pay attention to that. We just figure it's just to feed the puppy, the worm, vaccinate, and they're looking fine, and that's it. Yeah, the very same manner that a child outcome, what he or she becomes in life, has a lot to do with the first 7 years, where we refer to as the years of imprinting. The environment in which they've been exposed to determines during those primitive years, those initial 7 years, will determine what he or she becomes. For the puppy, the first 4 months of this puppy life is again that part of their life where the socialization is so important. This is the period of imprinting for them as well. So the conditions, the experiences in which that they would have had during that period is going to influence what they become. And one of those endpoints could be the aggression that they may want to exert on another family member or even on the owner itself. And again, to not realizing that that period of socialization or lack of could have given rise to that outcome. And remember, when we dealt with the area, the aspect of socialization, we spoke of introducing that puppy to positive experiences. In that, introducing them to other people, introducing them to other dogs, different breeds, different sizes, different ages, different animal species and breeds, introducing them during those formative years. So, and making sure that the experience of exposure is a positive one. That is critical, because if you're going to expose them and you're going to allow them to have a negative experience, this is what is going to imprint, and that is what they're going to relate to as they go on, because that's what they're going to remember. So hence the reason why it is so important that that period of socialization is done. So the imprinting is one of very, very or tremendous positivity, that you make as much as possible the experiences or the introduction of situations of those animals as positive as you can. If during the initiation of that experience you realize it is negative, don't allow them to go through it, take it away, and you could reintroduce it some other time. This socialization aspect of the animal is so very important and can give rise to a lot of the, if it is done properly, a lot of the negatives that is associated with animals being abandoned and to be left out as stray is as a result of poor socialization. And not only that too, the behavior of the owners not realizing that the manner in which they are behaving, the environment in which the animals are exposed to, impacting negatively on them, and hence the reason why you have those alterations in behaviors and giving rise to those actions. So we're going to go through some of the signs that you may notice if you're observant enough, that what we refer to as triggers of aggression. So if we know the triggers that may give rise to this aggression, we should be able to deal with it in a manner that would curb the expression of that aggression. And again, to the behaviors of the owners, and some of them too, many times it is being done and not being aware that it's impacting negatively on the animal and the response that they would give to that negative behavior that you is or are exhibiting. Okay, one, I mentioned the aspect of socialization. John, you can put the numbers on so people can call. We're not doing the slides yet. One is the areas of how well that animal is socialized. Two, how is that animal introduced to the household if when or she gets there, there are other animals existing. 3, be observant, because there is what you call the hierarchy which the animals establish among themselves, or they refer to as the pecking order. In other words, they would, among themselves, they would decide if there is more than 1, 2, or 3 animals in the household, who is the one in charge, who is the second in command, and if there's a third one, who is the third in command. Yes, they will establish this among themselves. Now, there are instances where this hierarchy or that pecking order is referred to as being very fluid. It's not rigid, in that the animals may that position in the pecking order or in the hierarchy can change based on different circumstances or situations. For example, there may be an established pecking order for food. So the man in charge, the alpha, he would step in and dominate when it comes for food. You may have another one that step in, and he or she may want to dominate for attention, yeah, or for time for play, for interacting or taking possession of toys, or the first to greet the owner, or some of them can be very protective. They may be the one to be closer to the owner or to spend time. So that hierarchy can be established along the spectrum. It's fixed, it can be fluid, and you have different animals playing the alpha role for different situations. Yeah, so that we should be observant enough to realize it, so not to create a conflict that would trigger this aggression. The other aspect of it too is we should be mindful that different breeds have different peculiarities and different characteristics, and many times we want to use the one size fit all analogy to address the issues, and that does not work. You may have certain peculiarities or particulars of a certain breed. That animal would react in a certain manner, and the others may not. I am noticing we're having quite a few of them. It's coming back to the fore again, and I'm going to bring up that point. The Japanese Akita. Many persons fall for the breed because of its size, because of its look. Some of them because of some of the behavior that they may exhibit. Some of them for their aggression and not realizing, or some of them they just like a nice looking dog, they want one, and not understanding that breed, like any other breed, has certain characteristics, certain particularities of that breed that you need to be mindful of. And I want to pinpoint that of the Japanese Akita. That is a dog that decides who you can have 50 persons in the household, and they will decide who they select to be the owner. And the person that they select to be the owner is the person that they're going to listen to, the person that they're going to respond to. And you not knowing this and can fall victim to situations that you would not be expecting. So I'm saying so to indicate that you need to know the characteristics, particularities of the animals that you choose to be part of your family, to be an inclusion of the family and to be that furry friend of the family. Yes, if you are aware of that, there are a lot of issues that you'll be able to deal with up front and not creating problems for yourself, for your friend, for your family down the road. Yeah? Okay. I'm going to try to pinpoint some of the areas or the triggers of aggression, and again too, I want to leave this one within the household, where animals who share the same space sometimes eat from the same plate, and you can't understand why all of a sudden there is some aggression being exhibited among them. Yeah? Okay. 1, 2 is that the animal there are different factors that can trigger or be triggers of that aggression. The sex. If it is a male, many times you will find that because of the hormonal influence, if that animal is intact, he or she is not yet sterilized, the hormonal influence in there could play a significant role in that animal exhibiting aggression towards another. More so, a male will more likely exhibit an aggressive behavior towards another male, and likewise a female that is not spayed and she is cycling, she is in heat, she may tend to exhibit an aggressive behavior towards another female. Sometimes you may have some females exhibiting aggression towards the male or vice versa, but in rare instances, what you may most likely find is of the similar sex exhibiting aggression towards each other. In that case, to help to minimize that aggression, you may want to spay if it's a female, or to castrate if it is a male. So you try to, in that case, get rid of or minimize the hormonal influence that is giving rise to that aggression. Yeah. 2 is sometimes the animals, they show the aggression because there is a certain level of jealousy that they may be exhibiting, and some of them want it all for themselves. They want to have all of the attention for themselves. They don't want to share. They may want to be the first to greet the owner. 2, they may be, if there is a stranger or a passerby, they may want to be the only one to give a response, or to be the first one to respond. A vehicle driving along your fence, they may want to be the first one to be chasing that vehicle along the fence and not wanting the others too, and that in itself can bring about a spur of aggression. Food. Some animals can be very aggressive when it comes to the food, so that might trigger they exhibiting a certain level of behavioral aggression to another as a result of food. Toys. They may have certain toys that they may favor and not wanting to share, and if another dog is probably accessing that toy, that too can trigger an aggression. So you need to know your furry friend, what trigger or what are the triggers that would bring about the aggression in them towards others. So if we are aware of this, people, that should allow us to be able to deal with the situation. The other thing is the exposure some of these animals may have had, which could have been very traumatic exposures they could have had by being inflicted by other dogs or being inflicted by other persons, and that would develop in them a level of fear, of anxiety. So when these situations present themselves, they would, as a result of being fearful and the anxiety levels being so high, that could trigger the aggression and have them to behave in a manner that would surprise you, because would not have been normal for them. So all of these one should take into consideration, and because many times when you have those aggression taking place in the household and the outcome is very fatal, the first response is they want to get rid of the dog. They want to shoot it, they want to get rid of it, change its location, relocate it. And many times if the attack is severe enough to warrant this, fine. But before we decide to take action, I think we should revisit the situation and try to determine what gave rise to the aggression that was being exhibited. Because it may be a fault of the animal. It may be your fault as the owner, but the animal is the one that is going to be penalized because he or she was the one who reacted as a result of your fault. Yeah. Other reasons or triggers of aggression that we have, and we may not even realize it, is the loss of another furry friend within the household. That too can give rise to that animal expressing the way he or she feels in a very aggressive manner. The loss of a human member of the family can also give rise to that aggression. So it's something that we have to be careful when we decide to give a response to, and before we sometimes decide to take some very drastic actions, that we should analyze the situation before we do so, right? The other point that we need to be very mindful of is an animal is sick, not feeling well, and by virtue of he or she not feeling well, especially if there is a lot of pain, the tolerance level reduces considerably, and that too can trigger a aggressive response. If for some reason you probably force them to move, or another furry member of the family got them agitated, they may snap and react in an aggressive manner because of the way that they are feeling. The other aspect that we need to be mindful of is when our puppies are maturing, what we refer to as the period of social maturity. When this puppy has gone up to the age of 2.5 years, then they feel that they are boisterous enough and they want to take charge. And this is where they may want to start exhibiting those behaviors where they start to now show their aggression towards the elders, because they feel that they're strong enough, they want to take charge. We should be mindful of those growth periods as well and look out for them. So like they say, nip it in the bud if you realize the behaviors are starting to show. Try and address it by reducing what what we refer to as the stimulus that would give rise to the expression of that aggression. The other thing too is most times when that happens, we become very aggressive and we react in an aggressive manner. We may want to scold the animal, yell at them, and this is not helping. It may just make the situation worse. It may get to the point where the way you react, that animal may react as well, and because of the anxiety and the fear, they may turn around and bite you. So sometimes when we hear of furry friends biting their owners, it doesn't happen just like this. There are situations, circumstances that we would have presented and have the animal to behave in a manner that we probably do not identify that or realize that we have, but all we are realizing is that that this animal is no good, you need to put it to sleep because it beat its owner. Why did it? Because the animal just don't become aggressive just like this. Yeah. Okay, so the signs of aggression that you need to pay attention to would be the areas where we find an animal may the stare towards another. Yes, that could be a sign of aggression. Exposing its teeth, yeah, snaring, that could be a sign of aggression. Vocalizing, yeah, that could be a sign of aggression, that if you don't try to curb it, it will escalate. Yeah. Mounting, a female probably wanting to mount another, and that can be as a result of your hormonal influences, surges that would have them to behave in a particular manner, which is not normal. And again, so if you're aware of this, then you should, animals come in heat. So these are some of the behaviors that can be exhibited as a result of the hormonal influences. Yeah, animal having conditions referred to as cystic ovaries, the same way humans have cystic ovaries too. Again, too, can influence the hormonal imbalance and give rise to those kind of behaviors that can trigger an aggression. Yeah, so these are some of the signs that we may notice, and sometimes we as owners, the way we behave, we need to be consistent in how we respond to those animals. Some of these animals are attention seekers. They want to make sure that they are the first in anything. So they want to be the first to greet you, they want to be the first to be fed, and these are some of the things that you look for. If so be the case, you just to keep the calm, you've identified that this particular one is one who wants everything first, so just toe the line, give them the attention first, so at least you don't cause any conflict in there. So you give one, today you give this one all the attention, and then tomorrow you want to switch it, and the one that wants to be attended first now start to be aggressive towards the other because you feel that he or she is being displaced because you're not giving the attention to them first or not feeding them first. So you need to be mindful of those just like children. Those that attention seekers, or those who, for instance, you go out to play and they may want to be the first one to throw the ball to, or the first one to get the ball. So just keep the pace. If that has been established, don't try and rock the boat, you know. But if you are flipping, you're not consistent. You do one thing today and do one thing tomorrow. You have the animals confused. They're not sure what is happening, and they will respond in a similar manner of confusion. Yeah. So many times too, we do not have any pattern at home that is established in be able to maintain a certain level of command and the proper training and obedience is one of the ways that one can help to address those issues. Exercising them, walking them, taking them for walks or for runs, letting them exert the energy that they have accumulated, and sometimes to the sequence in which that you do that. These are some of the areas we could help to curb that level of aggression. Sometimes too, when this happens, instead of us taking on our own and try to resolve or get solution to the issue, again too, I recommend that when this happens, your first response, take this animal to the vet. There could be an underlying condition in there that you're not aware of, and it's giving rise to the aggression. The animal could be suffering from arthritis, can't move that much, is in pain, and if you push it, it will snap. Yeah. It could be an animal that has anxiety issues as well. Yes, that can be dealt with medically. Yeah. So I'm going to run some slides in there just to bring to your attention the point I made initially on the program, the iceberg effect, where you may have an animal that was attacked, another one displayed aggressive behavior towards, and you may just see or did not see a point of injury, or you saw it and pay no mind. You figured, it's no big deal. It's something that can be dealt with. It's not that serious, so it can wait. And not realizing how serious the situation is until 3-4 days when you realize that, hey, this thing is not what I thought. Yes. Some of these slides I'm going to warn you, it's graphic. Again, too, I just want to impress on you what you may not have seen, or what you saw and didn't pay too much attention to when you decide to bring an animal to the vet. The extent of damage or the size of the iceberg which you just saw the tip of, I'm going to bring it out there, so just for you to have an appreciation of what some of those conditions are, where persons, like I said too, may not want to give any attention to because they figure it's just a bite, or they didn't even see the bite, just a little scratch, nothing serious, yeah, and not realizing they're not acting smooth, quickly, and aggressively, what some of these can lead to. So, Junior, can we start off with the slide? Again, I'm going to warn you, it's graphic. So this here is a lesion or a bite that was inflicted 4 days before this animal came in for medical attention. And again, too, it's a furry dog, and it thought, just a bite, nothing serious. It can wait, and you will what is below the tip of this iceberg, and how serious the condition was, and the owner never realized it. And it could have been so much different. We could have addressed this thing so much easier. The end point of the intervention could have been so much different, only if that animal was taken in at the time of the attack. Can you go, Junior, please? Okay, that's another one. Again, this animal came in days after it was attacked. Again, too, What the owners believe is just a bite, just a little puncture, not much that can wait. And these two injuries that you're seeing there, you will be amazed. You will be surprised. Like I said, this is the tip of the iceberg that we have shown. You'll be surprised what the base of this iceberg end up being. Next, Junior. Okay, can you go back to this one? No. The third one, I want to go back to it. Just continue. In actual. Okay, right. This you see there, like I said, is graphic. This is the first lesion that we saw. And like I said, it will happen it came in 4 days after the attack. And the owner thought it was just a little hole. And what you see there is when that lesion was incised, when it went in, that's a part of the extent of the damage. And what you're seeing there, that is after we've had what you call debride and clean, take off all of the dead tissue in there, all of the pus that was in there. This is what that you see there now. Yes. If you look carefully, you see a lot of gaps in there. These are all punctures in there of the soft tissue. Yes. And we are now clean off, debriding, and preparing to be resutured. Next, Junior. That's that very same lesion that we showed earlier. All you saw was that part at the top. That was just that hole. That was the point of entry. And what you see in there, when we cut through the skin, that all on the hair, that was like how can I put it, a cyspit in there, or damaged tissue and pus in there. And next one. Okay, that's another one as well. That came in with just a little hole, just a little puncture hole. You could have hardly seen. If you look in the middle towards the bottom, you see something like a V, a concave on the skin in there. That is all, and that was the point of entry. That's all that was seen. Yes, and the damage that you see in there, and it's not complete. If you look to the left or to the right of the screen, if you look there, you could see that we went further in to get to the end point of that lesion. There is a marking that you see black on the bottom end of this. Yes, and this is a lot of what you call superficial hemorrhaging in there as a result of the trauma that was inflicted by the aggression in there. And this is minor. In some areas, this area could be very vast, and a lot of damaged tissue as a result of that trauma. Next one. Okay, this is another one again. As entry point, you see very small hole, and thinking that there's nothing in there. And when you get in there, in the bite and the shake and the pull, this is where all the damage to the soft tissue takes place. So you go inside there and you swear is a razor blade, but just went in there, slashing left, right, and center. Yeah, and sometimes you'd be surprised how deep some of these lesions can be. And luckily, it's not over a cavity where you have the thorax being involved or the abdomen being involved. Most of them take place within where you have some muscle, some musculature in there, so you don't get too much penetration of cavities. Next. Right. This one here, that is the first one that you saw. If you look at the bottom of this here, you have a triangle here. The left bottom part, the base of that triangle, was what you saw on the second slide, where you just saw that hole out, that port of entry. Yeah, this is the extent to which we had to go in and debride and take off dead tissue and whatever it is, and to resuture. Yeah, and had this animal come in earlier, we would not have had so much loss of tissue, and the outcome of this here is we're just hoping and praying that it remains. We don't have too much sloughing of the tissue in there, because the amount of damage that we had as a result of the amount of time it took before the animal came in for attention. Next one. Yeah. This here again too is the iceberg that we saw prior, which saw the tip of, and you could see here the extent of damage there is at the base of that iceberg, because all you saw was the tip, not realizing there was so much more below the surface. Next. Another one similar again too, coming in just a point of entry, thinking that all is well, and not realizing there so much damage had occurred as a result of not responding in a speedy manner, thinking that all was well, and it wasn't at all. Next year. Okay. So this, I just showed this there just again to emphasize on the iceberg effect, where the tip of the iceberg, you just see the tip and you figure, that's it, that there's nothing else below there, and not realizing the extent of the damage there is there. So people, I'm hoping that the slides that you saw there would impact in a manner that will allow you to respond differently when you have dog attacks. Sometimes what triggers or give rise to the aggression are changes that takes place in the environment. Some of those changes you would be aware of, some of them you would not be aware of. Yes. For instance, you have two animals in the household, and one animal favors a particular spot where he or she would take refuge, on the couch or some corner, and that is his or her spot. They have selected that spot, it is theirs. And for some reason, you may not be aware of this, gone in and interfered with this, make some changes to it. So in other words, you have now created some sort of a displacement. Yes. And in so doing, now you find that you have destabilized that cocoon. You have destabilized this set in there where the animal feels so comfortable, and you now have Christmas is coming, bringing in new furniture. You shift things around and not realizing in so doing you have create an offset in that level of stability, and the animal is reacting to this and can now start exhibiting aggression towards other members of the family as a result of. Yeah. You may probably was doing a particular routine at home that was again to establish, and that routine suddenly changed. Yes, that in itself could be a trigger that can give rise to the aggression. So the point I'm making there is we need to be very mindful of some of our own behaviors, how it can affect the animals, and when it happens, the only thing that we see is the aggression that was exhibited by one towards another, and not realizing that we were the ones who have created the condition and or give rise to the trigger that the aggression is the end point of. Yeah. So again too, like I said, we're entering the festive season and there is going to be a lot of changes in the environment. So be mindful of those changes and how it can or may impact on the animal. Yeah. Again too, the changes in your routines at home too can give rise. So be mindful of this, that you don't destabilize too much, and if you do, try not to allow it to escalate in a manner that would give rise to aggressions that you may not be aware of. And like I said too, some of these in-house aggression or in-household aggression can be fatal. So be mindful of this, because it's not an easy thing to deal with as a animal owner, where you have 2 or 3 animals living together, spending time together, and all of a sudden you have this aggression towards one or 2 towards one, and your end point is that it could be fatal. Yeah, and you may want to, your immediate response is to get rid of, and not realizing what could have given rise to this aggression. Yes, and here's the reason why I'm saying for the reasons of responding when it happens immediately to your vet. 1, to address the injury. 2, to determine what gave rise to the attack. It could well be that the animal, the aggressor, is not well, is sick. One of the conditions could be arthritis, so you have inflammation of the joints, cannot move as fluid as he or she may want to. It's in a lot of pain and would react. 2, there could have been an underlying condition as well, where there's a lot of inflammation. 2, animal is not feeling well, and the other one is troubling, and even you too may not have realized this and may push the button a little too much, and the animal can respond as a result of the pain in a very aggressive manner, and can inflict injury to you as owner as well. And when that happens, again too, the cry is, oh, the dog turned on the owner, whatever it is, get rid of the dog, kill the dog. But before we take those drastic action, again too, that happens, take your animal to the vet. The other thing too, the animal that is being attacked could be it's very nervous, its anxiety levels are high, can get into a state of shock, and if it is not responded to adequately, you could lose this animal as well. So you may think that all is well, not much, and you turn it back and gone, and when you come back, you can have a dead animal on your hand. So please, the advice is, when you have those attacks, please respond to them in a speedy manner. Your eye can deceive you. What you think you see, not what you saw. What you think is there is not what is there. It could be very 99% of the time. It's much more than what you think it is or what you think it could be. So please, people, point of advice: any aggression that is being displayed, the victim of the aggression should be taken in to be checked, because there may be underlying conditions that you may not be aware of, and sorry, of the aggressor as well, because especially those that would be have physical issues that you may not see, and they may be the one attacking. You may want to get rid of them, yes, but before you do so, they too should be examined. There could be an underlying condition in there that you're not aware of, and you may find yourself wanting to get rid of the poor animal because he or she responded to a stimulus. And as a result of this, they can fall victim to your wrong decision, or based on your own analysis, what you think could have given rise to, and at the end of it all, you may regret the action or actions that you may have taken. So please pay attention to your furry friends. Be observant. Puppies, again, though, we're approaching the Christmas season. We know they're going to be gifts will be given, and many times we know sometimes puppies are part of those gifts that are being shared. Those of you receiving those puppies, please make sure that those puppies are socialized properly within the first 4 months. This can make a significant difference to the outcome of those puppies when they become adults. Yeah. So I think we're exhausted our time for this evening, and again, those of you who may have missed the program, I think it's an important one that probably you could share with your neighbors and friends, because their furry friends could be a victim of in-house aggression for the reasons which was explained earlier, and that aggression can be prevented. And even if we're not able to prevent it when it happens, that we should be able to act in a manner that is very speedy and could allow us to give a better response to the injury and can save the life of this furry friend, or to reduce the cost that you may have to incur if you did not respond quick enough. Yes. So your timely intervention in there is critical, and don't take it on your own to decide whether he or she should need a medical attention or not. Your direct response, your first response is, and just make this your gospel, dog attack, your first response, take the animal to the vet as quick as possible. That could make a significant difference for you, for your pocket, and for the life of this animal. Because if it is not dealt with properly, you'll be surprised the scar that can create for this animal, and the animal can be traumatized for the rest of his or her life. Yeah. So people, again, to those of you who may have missed the program, or you can follow it up on DBS TV, DBS TV, on St. Lucia Veterinary Medical Center Facebook page. Again, too, it's Christmas season. Be very mindful how you tread through this season. Don't create too many changes within your household. Don't create too many changes within the patterns that you have established, and that you don't create triggers of aggression for your furry friends. And again, we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bonsoir. Good evening.